Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
There's a particular kind of silence that settles over a fan base when a rumor refuses to go away, the sort that makes people argue in group chats, stare at stat lines a little too long, and quietly ask themselves whether they're missing something obvious. That's exactly where Toronto Blue Jays fans find themselves right now, because as trade chatter begins to boil ahead of the winter meetings, one name keeps floating back to the surface like a stubborn boy. Stephen Kwan. Loved by some, questioned by others, and capable of shifting the Jays' direction in ways that aren't immediately obvious, this is a rumor that has split the fanbase clean down the middle. And today, on the Blue Jays Report, we're diving right into the heart of that divide. Before we go any further, do me a quick favor. If you enjoy calm, honest, and in-depth Jays discussion without the noise, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and share it with someone who already has an opinion on this trade idea. Trust me, this one's going to spark debate. This off-season was never going to be quiet for Toronto. When you reach the World Series, expectations don't politely reset, they sharpen. Every move is magnified, every rumor scrutinized, and every inaction questioned. Ross Atkins and the front office know that standing still is not an option, and as the trade market starts to wake up, familiar connections are being revisited. One of those connections leads straight back to Cleveland, and straight back to Stephen Kwan. If this sounds familiar, that's because it should. Cast your mind back to the trade deadline in July, when Toronto were quietly, but very genuinely, linked to Kwan. At the time, it felt like a luxury rather than a necessity. The team was rolling, the defense was pristine, and the offense was doing just enough. But fast forward to now, with roster questions mounting and clarity needed, that interest has resurfaced with far more weight behind it. Kwan, for better or worse, is the embodiment of a Ross Atkins player. Elite contact skills, outstanding defense, speed, baseball IQ, and an approach that values pressure over power. He doesn't bully pitchers, he exhausts them. He doesn't change games with one swing, he changes innings one foul ball at a time. And for a Blue Jays team that struck out more than almost anyone in baseball, that profile is undeniably appealing. Last season, Kwan put together a quietly impressive stat line. A .272 average, 170 hits, over 20 stolen bases, and Gold Glove caliber defense in the outfield. He's not going to threaten 30 home runs, and has never pretended otherwise, but he consistently puts the ball in play and makes life miserable for opposing defenses. In a vacuum, that's a good player. A very good player, even. But baseball is never played in a vacuum, and this is where the fanbase fractures. For some Jays fans, Stephen Kwan feels like exactly what this team needs. Another relentless on-base presence. Another elite defender. Another runner who can manufacture runs when power dries up. Add him to an outfield mix that already includes Santander and Springer, and suddenly the team becomes suffocating to play against. Long at-bats, stolen bases, aggressive defense, and constant pressure. That's a style Toronto leaned into during their World Series run, and it worked. For others, though, Kwan feels redundant. Another contact-first bat on a team already full of them. Another player who doesn't meaningfully address the lack of thump when games tighten up in October. These fans look at his 11 home runs and sub-.800 OPS and ask a fair question. Is this really the impact that Toronto should be spending prospect capital on? That question becomes even louder when you consider the cost. Kwan is not a rental. He's young, controllable, and highly valued by Cleveland. The Guardians are not giving him away, even if they're open to listening. Any serious conversation likely starts with a premium prospect, and that's where hesitation creeps in. Would you move Ricky Tiedemann for Stephen Kwan? Would you even consider Arjun Nimala? For many fans, the answer is an immediate no. Others might entertain a package centered around a mid-tier arm and additional depth. But everyone agrees on one thing. Overpaying for Kwan would feel like a misstep. What complicates matters further is the New York Yankees' involvement. Reports suggest they're sniffing around as well, with mock trades floating out prospect Spencer Jones as a potential centerpiece. If the Yankees are serious, the price rises instantly. And Toronto, quite understandably, does not want to get dragged into a bidding war for a player who doesn't clearly elevate the ceiling of the lineup. This is where context becomes crucial. The Stephen Kwon discussion cannot exist in isolation. It's directly tied to what happens with Bo Bichette, Kyle Tucker, and the broader offensive plan. If the Jays bring Bo back, as many believe they will, then the calculus changes. Suddenly, Kwon isn't the headline addition. He's a complementary piece, a finishing touch rather than the centerpiece. In that scenario, adding Kwon makes more sense. You're not asking him to carry the offense. You're asking him to support it, to stabilize it, to protect against regression from players like Springer or Clement, to provide consistency when variance strikes. But if Toronto misses on Bo and doesn't land a true middle-of-the-order force like Tucker, then Kwon feels insufficient. He's not the bat that scares October pitching staffs. He's not the name that forces opposing managers to change their bullpen plan. And that's where skepticism is justified. What's clear, though, is that trades are coming. They always do. As one Jays insider recently put it, it wouldn't be an off-season in Toronto without at least one surprise deal. Ross Atkins has built a reputation as a calculated trader, and his comfort dealing with Cleveland only fuels speculation further. These two front offices understand each other. They trust each other. That matters. Meanwhile, developments in New York add another layer. Brian Cashman's recent comments about tagging out at certain salary levels sound suspiciously like expectation management. Yankees fans are being quietly prepared for disappointment, and when that happens, opportunity opens elsewhere. If New York bows out of the Tucker sweepstakes, or hesitates on big money commitments, Toronto's path becomes clearer. And that's why this moment matters. The Jays are standing at a fork in the road. One path leans into contact, defense, and depth. The other swings hard for star power and intimidation. Stephen Kwon represents one philosophy. Kyle Tucker represents the other. Bo Bichette sits somewhere in between, tying identity to ambition. So where do you land? Would you welcome Stephen Kwon as a smart, steady addition who makes the team better in subtle but meaningful ways? Or do you believe Toronto should aim higher, hold their prospects, and chase a bat that changes games in one swing? There's no right answer, only consequences. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. Make sure you're subscribed to the Blue Jays Report, because as the winter meetings approach, these rumors are going to turn into decisions. And when they do, we'll be right here, breaking it all down with you.